Hello, Pastor Jack. My name's Jonathan Campus. I'm originally from Charlotte, North Carolina, Billy Graham's town. And I just want to say thank you so much for your encouragement, for your excellent explanations of God's Word, for the upbuilding comments that you give and the encouragement to stay strong and to, appreciate everything that God has done for us. So this is a bit of an odd or unusual video. I'll introduce myself later, but I do want to tell you that I have an opportunity here that I would like to share with you, something that reminds me very much. I watched your story regarding my story of your background, and I started laughing when you got to the part of the antique cigar box in Pastor Chuck's desk, and so I was like, oh, that's really cool. I kind of feel like maybe another cigar box, and this one's a pretty big one. So I really hope so, and I do things with prayer and with a scientific viewpoint toward, in this case, excavations. Right now I'm standing in the southernmost island, Mindanao, of the Philippines. I've actually traveled in 130 countries. I've had experiences, I've kind of lived a movie. So my nickname now is Indiana Jones, because I'm in the midst of a very large project. This hole behind us here is going to reach probably 33 to 40 feet. Right now, I think we're about 27 feet. But to make a long story short as possible, is that I came to the Philippines and was working as looking for free gold, placer gold deposits in streams and mountains and that with metal detectors and scanners, etc. But that quickly turned into looking for the Japanese deposits that were left back in the time of World War II. General MacArthur was involved in that after the war, but the biggest one was Ferdinand Marcos Sr., who that's where he amassed all of the incredible wealth that he had. So me, I'm excited by adventure and by puzzles and figuring things out and figuring out the logic. How did this happen? What's the engineering behind it? So I'm not motivated by the dollar signs. But on this particular site, so I've been to over 250 sites here in the Philippines. I don't know if you've watched the show on History Channel, The Lost Gold of World War II, but what I'm doing is exactly like that, identical. So it's a lot of work, but I love it. Very exciting, and for some reason I think I was groomed from when I was a child. When my parents were on vacation anywhere in the world, I would be looking in the streams and the mountains for rocks. So I don't know why, but all of a sudden I've come into this situation here. Sorry for so many details, but I have a site here that's about 10 acres. And from what I've confirmed so far with scanning equipment and other things, marker stones, signs, kanji or ancient Japanese writing on the stones and that, there's about 30 locations here on this one site. This particular room down here is 23 feet long, 13 feet wide. And they usually stacked 6.2 kilogram bars of precious metals about a meter high. So 1 meter is 19.32 tons. So there's quite a few cubic meters in just this one of 30 locations. So what's amazing is the geometry: square, rectangular, round, oval. Actually, I'll take you for a little walk of the site here. But the point, let me get to the point. I know you're a busy man. If you watch this, it'll be absolutely amazing. I'm amazingly grateful is what I mean, because I know you're so busy. So it's like I'll take you for a little tour of the site so you can get an idea. You see the terrain and that of what I'm working in. And what I just want to say is this is yours, man. I want to share whatever I can. I want to help however I can. If you want to help Amir Sarfati, if you want to help Greg Laurie or whoever you like. Whatever you want to do, if we want to create our own, a media channel so we can give an option of some true, accurate Christian news, something that people maybe in places, I used to live in China where I did a lot of underground preaching. I came from Dubai recently to here. So I like working underground. I like doing things that are a little bit, scary for most people. So it's like whatever you want to do. I'm not hard-headed. I'm not stubborn. I just want to present this for you. And based on the estimates of what I've seen, I won't say a number because it's a guess, but it's in the very many billions of dollars of both jewels as well as primarily gold, but also some platinum, silver, other things. So it's this is quite an amazing place. I've been to over 250 sites, like I mentioned. So it's like I've seen the difference between maybe a box in a pond or a box in a stream. But now this whole thing has come together, and it's an answer to a prayer. I'm working with a church group, no less, who owns this property, and they are so beautiful of people. Not one single time in months have I ever heard them say, oh, I'm going to buy this kind of motorcycle, or I'm going to build this kind of mansion, or this is the yacht or jet I'm going to buy. And it's so refreshing and so beautiful to hear that they just want to proclaim God's word. And it's a small church, a very simplistic group of people. And when I join them sometimes on Sundays, and I'm in their nipa hut, their grass palm structure. And, when the collection plate goes around and they take out, they take out like 10 cents, and put it in the plate. I normally don't look at the plate, what are other people putting in, but it's so beautiful and so touching. It's like, yeah, I could see God using this kind of simple people, not rich businessmen who just want to dig in the ground and get richer. It's a fantastic group. So I'm working with like 10 or 15 guys each day, having a good time. So let me show you around a little bit, and I'll tell you a little bit about my background, so I'm not just some crazy guy. I mean, yeah, when it comes to adventure and going places maybe I shouldn't, maybe I am a little bit crazy. But when it comes to something like this, I am truly speaking from my heart, and as God looks upon us as my witness, I'm speaking the truth. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not fluffing the pillow or creating some kind of story that just catches attention. I really want to share what I found. And also I want to mention, if you know someone who can help me out, if they want to bring a shovel and come, that's great. If they want to help us get an excavator instead of digging with shovels, that's great. So whatever level is fine. But even if you don't have anyone who can help us, my offer stands exactly the same. It has nothing to do with equal amounts, or you do this for us, we'll do this for you. No. So even if you don't even watch this video, it's okay. I still want to do absolutely everything I can to help you and your team. So here we go. Let me just show you around a little bit. So let's just start here with the hole that was behind me. So this is on like a 50-foot high hill that's shaped like a turtle. I believe that this whole hill, geologically speaking, was man-made or backfilled or filled by the excavations of the adjoining little mountain or little hill, and they brought the materials here. So it starts with a topsoil, and then that progresses into a brown clay. The brown clay is then mixed with iron, which you can see very prevalent here. For example, these iron stripes, looks more like Utah or the Painted Desert or something. Then here we got this gray, solid gray clay that's only interrupted periodically by other iron oxide or ferrous oxide powder. So here we're about, like I say, 27 feet down to the bottom. What's really cool here is there's a little iron triangle on the right side, a little iron triangle on the left side. And then when you come up here to this pointer, this is something that normally doesn't show up. There are these angles like this. Most of the lines are just simply horizontal, like rings in a tree, except horizontal. And so this points down to the center of where we're digging with a right and left marker. We also have many marker stones. Some are shaped like hearts, some are shaped like diamonds, and other shapes that were all pointing into this room where the signal is emanating from. So again, this clay, when it's freshly carved, is very blue, then it turns gray when it oxidizes. This clay is a light gray with a pink color in it. And then adjacent to that was another cool thing. Don't know if you can quite see this, but again, another anomaly which is not normal for any of these iron layers is there's a start and stop point of a 1, and then a 0, which I think they did quite a beautiful job of making. This is the Japanese soldiers, the Imperial Army. And then an alien grasshopper thing that actually, sorry for the dirt on top right now, but it looks very much like an M. So if that's 10 meters and we're at 27 feet, we might be getting pretty close. A little bit more on these iron lines. What's interesting about these is if there's a thicker section, like here's medium thick, but over here in this, this is the first hole that we dug. This also is about 27 feet, but as it got more dangerous, since they put me in charge of the project, I'm very, very responsible for these guys. I don't want anyone to get hurt. So as things started falling off, I was like, no, this is too risky. So instead, I decided to hydraulically dig with a water pump, and that we dug a canyon. So right now it's about 60% full of the backfill, or the dirt that we took down from the top, because we wanted to remove, this is on like a 45-degree angle now, so it doesn't fall down on top of us as we're working. But what they did, what the Japanese did on this location, as we were coming in, chunks started falling off. They started with maybe 20 pounds, 50 pounds, 100 pounds, until we got to 1-ton pieces that were divided by this greenish, slimy grease, basically is what it is. They call it butter, but it's a blue-green. I don't know if you can pick that up on the video, but this is so slippery, and it separates anything they put in between there. So these sheets that they made these clay sections out of, they put a hardener into it, and they would separate and slide down on top of you if you dug a tunnel, but would fall out on you if you came in from the side. There are so many details I could share with you, and if you are interested, or if someone is interested that you know of, sorry, I would be happy to make a more professional video or something. This one I'll just do very simple, just because I want to get it to you. So let's walk out of the canyon now, and here's another really cool thing at this site. I actually got goosebumps, which I did maybe 3 or 4 times a week when I first started here. So standing out on the side of the Turtle Hill here that we just came out of, there are 16 beams of energy, of gold energy, perfectly straight, running from the base of this hill all the way down to the creek, which turns into a small lake. So I was like, when my scanner went on, off, as I walked from this point all the way across, straight down to this point, 16 lines. I was like, what's the significance of 16? First thing that came to my head was the Japanese flag. How many beams or how many stripes does a Japanese flag have from World War II? 16. So what they did is they kind of saluted Hirohito and Prince Chichibu by putting these stripes of the flag, the land of the rising sun, you know, the red circle. They just showed honor and allegiance that way. So we started digging on one of those beam locations. So what I believe they did, when I say they, the Japanese, is they put boxes, like ammo boxes with bars, gold bars in them, and they buried them in these beams or rays, because the energy is absolutely perfectly on and off. It's about 2 feet wide and about 40 feet long, each one of the beams. So on one of these beams or rays, I dug a hole. First I do an exploration drill, so I use an auger and drill down to see what kind of materials are we going to be encountering. And so this hole is quite interesting, because on the signal side, so the strong gold signal comes from on that side, the soil is compact and with gravel, and has been compacted or supported so it doesn't collapse. But on the side where there is no signal, there it's just basically topsoil, and there it collapses from the top, so you can see a large cavity. Let's step down in there a second. So this maybe provides a little better view down here in the hole. So you can see this clay, and I don't think you would guess that this is a solid blue clay under here. So if it oxidizes 1 or 2 days, it changes color to green, or to an iron oxide color, or to orange, or to yellow, many different colors. But let me take my my high-tech digging tool here, and let me show you what happens. So if we scrape this away, this one actually stays green. So there are spots that are green, there are spots that are yellow, and then there's other spots that are different colors. So this section that I can't reach, because this is about 4 feet deep, is solid blue. I'll try to put a picture on here to show you the blueness. It's absolutely gorgeously beautiful. So here's where I scratched before, and then I went just down below that a little bit, and you can see the gray blue starts to show up. And the deeper you go into it, the bluer it gets. But it's amazing, it changes colors. You can actually watch it within 1 minute. It'll turn from blue to a gray within less than a minute. So here's some of the dirt we extracted from that hole. Now I'll put a picture on here of the blue when it came. So this was really, really bright blue. This is a black boot, so you can see the contrast of color. It's a little bit hard on a video. But even when you dig in, the blue has disappeared. There's a little bit coming when it breaks open a small chunk of the clay that did not get oxidized. But for a natural clay to change from bright blue like that to a pretty strong green, pretty interesting. So the first thing that brought me to this site is over in this pond is a cement box, which there are no natural stones in this whole area, that you can actually see on Google Earth Pro from some of the older satellite views. It's 4 feet by 6 feet in dimension, and they used to stand on it and fish from it. They didn't realize it's a box filled with gold, most likely. So when I told them, they started digging around it, and then it sunk into the pond about 4 or 5 more feet. But that's another extraction point, is a 4 foot by 6 foot cement box, probably filled with precious metals, maybe some other things. So here's the church that actually owns the property, and you can see it's a very simple building. And this is the pastoral house here, where the wife and the 2 kids and the pastor live. So again, quite a simple approach. But what is so beautiful in all of the Philippines actually is the fact that people can have such a simple life and yet maintain happiness, smile, take care of their families in such a loving way. It's a really, really beautiful thing. You know, sometimes we Americans, we complain if our Starbucks is not the right temperature, but these guys, it would be a joy, a very, very big joy to help them. All right, so now we're standing on the top of the hill looking down into the 27-foot deep hole that we dug. So this is where we received the signal on the top of the hill here that the room is 23 feet long, very rectangular shape, and 13 feet wide. So this is the entrance to that room is what we're looking for, and all the indications with the 10M and the triangles and so forth looks very promising. All right, so now we've walked to basically the opposite end of the property, so maybe it's about 800 feet from the box in the pond I told you about. And this santol tree right here, right below that is the 23 by 13 foot vault with the canyon coming into it. And this hill, I believe, is a natural hill. This was a man-made, man-built hill about 50 feet tall that's shaped like a turtle. This has more of a natural terrain shape to it, drops off on that side. I believe there's a whole tunnel network under here. From what I can tell, both from the collapsed tunnel geometry, there's a banana-shaped tunnel that comes here and goes around. There's a room that's about 30 feet long, 15 feet wide, filled with gold bars there. What I'm standing on right here is 100 feet long, continues here, and then this dropped off like a landslide, but the signal continues down below about 15 feet, ends in a U shape, and then comes back and follows the contour of the mountain absolutely exactly. So I believe there's a giant 100-foot room by 20 feet. That's a massive, massive bunker vault. Then over here is another, it's almost identical to this one, like 23 by 13. And there's a tunnel entrance on that side. The tunnel comes here and tees into the banana tunnel. I found the tunnel entrance down here below. I'll include some pictures of that and maybe take you down there. That one we started digging in, but as it got a little more risky, and I had estimated that the ceiling would drop down 45 degrees based on some of the red quartz marker stones that I found here on site. And sure enough, the ceiling started dropping down 45 degrees. So we, due to the traps and, even cyanide capsules, bombs, rock traps, sand traps, water traps, I just want to err on the side of safety. So we went over to this one and started on the canyon approach, which I kind of invented myself using a water pump to move the dirt out. And that's been quite effective because we're just digging with shovels and picks. So yeah, we seem to be making it happen with God's help. From this viewpoint, looks a little bit like Golgotha. But actually, this was one of the more exciting days. So as I mentioned up top, there's the banana tunnel, is what I call it, because it has this curved crescent shape that continues around that way. And here, it was an ocular inspection, so it was even without scanners and that. I saw this on the ground. I said, that looks like a collapsed tunnel. So sure enough, we started digging here. I used scanning equipment and other things to confirm. This was exact tunnel entrance. There were many iron pipes. There was like maybe a machine gun mount, some kind of water pump or ventilation system. Not sure. It was all rusted. But then there was an arch, a perfect radius arch, about 4 feet wide, which was good. And then straight walls, also good. And then at 5 feet tunnel height, flat floor. The arch was supported by a ferrous oxide iron powder, and then the floor also supported that way. So we started digging in there in this backfilled gray clay. So I don't have any perfect pictures, but I'll send what I have of the clay backfilling so you can see what we were digging into. So to remove all of the dirt, the backfilled gray clay, we made this little canal or canyon, and that way the dirt would be deposited out and go down the hill naturally. Beside the tunnel entrance is another collapsed room area. So this looks like a landslide, but it was a collapse. So the land just went boom and fell straight down. And then here it went down where it was the lower section, maybe 3 feet. So there's a slope. You can't see it with a video. But this room continues over possibly 60, 70 feet and maybe is around 80 feet long. A super strong signal in the entire collapsed bunker area. So I'm pretty sure that's a large storage area as well of precious metals. And this would be called an imperial site. It's one of the 175 major sites that were in the Philippines. I'm kind of surprised that Ferdinand Marcos or Douglas MacArthur didn't get this one already. It's really, really a big place. I'll walk across that bunker. This is sloped down about 45 degrees, maybe 3 or 4 feet to where it collapsed. Then this area is really flat. It's like this walkable flat surface, which is unusual in this terrain. And the signal starts right here at the edge, continues all the way across, and then stops where the soil tapers back up. So you can see it's a very obvious room collapse straight down off of this hill. I started laughing because I'm leaving out hundreds and hundreds of details and saying things that probably don't make any sense whatsoever. But it kind of reminded me of, you discussing 3 verses of Romans or Hebrews in an hour. It's like me trying to discuss, details of this project. I mean, it's similar but different. Pastor Jack and Lisa, if you guys want to come and visit, they're building a visiting pastor's house right here. The previous one, they had a mosquito coil one night and it caught on fire. Fortunately, it didn't burn down the church. Was happy for that. But yeah, pretty simple here. So the last spot on the tour here, well, actually second to the last, right here is another 16-foot long by 8-foot wide room that's almost right under the eave of the church. So another room filled with precious metals. But another one I got goosebumps at was the signal that came here. So the ground, the topography or terrain was different. So here's normal ground level. Then it drops down in a nice U shape, comes up quite high on a little pitch here, and then drops back down on an equal U shape to the other side. So that shape reminded me of living in China, where they did memorial burials of ancestors and that. It looked exactly like this. Then I took out my compass and I found that it's facing 090 degrees due east, which Buddha should be facing east because that's where he received his enlightenment, according to their tradition. But here, the geology is completely different in all of this ground. There are no stones in this area. The biggest rocks are about 1/4 in diameter. So all of these rocks started showing up as we were digging on top of a very strong, small but strong signal. So I believe what they put here is a Buddha, and many golden Buddhas have been found associated with these treasure sites. And so here I believe they put the Buddha in to actually create an altar or a memorial tomb for the dead soldiers. Last note before the closing remarks. The adjacent property here to the north has a mound also that looks very man-made. It does not look like the natural terrain that's found in this region. So on the other side of that hill, it is just completely slid down, collapsed. It is not a climatic-induced landslide. It's not steep enough for that. It has no reason to do that. But it collapsed. So I think there's a giant bunker under that one as well. That's the neighbor's property, but I know him very well now. And then to the due south of this property, some Chinese businessmen bought an area that's kind of sloped down like this one. And they actually leased it, not bought it, and they wanted to develop a banana farm. That was their alibi, at least. They brought in 3 large excavators, which you do not need for banana farming. And they dug out 4 boxes, put them on flatbeds, and left very quickly. So they just went there for the treasures. And then across the property, on the other side of the church, on the other side of the road, they were enlarging the road over there. This is like 7 or 8 years ago, and they hit a large, well, not a large, but like a 4 foot by 4 foot cement box, square box. And then the owner of the construction company came personally. They shut down the whole project. They took the box away, and then he bought a lot more cranes and excavators soon thereafter. So most of the large corporations in the Philippines, from airlines to bus companies to SM Shopping Mall to Banco de Oro, Bank of Gold, to Pure Gold shopping centers, all of those got started from finding a box in the ground. Henry C., one of the largest businessmen in the Philippines, a large treasure hunter also, owns the largest shopping malls in the country. So, you know, one small box, again, 1 cubic meter of gold that's 3 feet by 3 feet by 3 feet is 19.32 tons, so almost 20 tons in such a small area. So having like 30 of those, actual not even boxes, but rooms on this property has the potential of some really huge things. And that's why I talk to you, because I'm not motivated by money and material things at all. Living in Dubai, it's a disgusting place. You know, just it's all money. It's all wealth and scams and how to take money from the next person. So I'm the opposite of that. I like the simple life, and it touches my heart here. So anyway, for what it's worth, I hope this makes sense. I'll tell you a little bit about myself, and then I'll close off. Okay, so I promise you, this is the final closing remarks. If you've gotten this far, I am totally amazed, really. So a little bit of my history and why I'm here, why I'm talking to you. First of all, born at a young age, but I was born to parents who were both missionaries, dad in Ethiopia, mom in Venezuela. And then Dad was in charge of 46 churches in Charlotte, North Carolina. His occupation was vice president of U-Haul. So I had a good start to life, loving parents, very supportive, very encouraging, and good Christians. So at 18, I became a full-time international missionary and started traveling the world. That's what partially took me to 130 countries. Helped me to learn construction skills for building hospitals, schools, etc. So had a blast, met fantastic people, lived a very exciting life. And then I was a good boy for a long time, most of my life. And then I reached a point, kind of like a midlife crisis combined with some collision of, I don't know, selfishness maybe. And so I was like, I've never been to a bar, never went out singing karaoke, never been dancing. Let me try that out. So, yeah, I kind of went down that path, prodigal son-ish kind of thing. And I didn't become like a really, really bad person. I didn't lie, cheat, steal, hurt others. But I was, I guess the word might be very popular. I came to the Philippines, and so I was just a nice guy, friendly, you know, tried to be loving and kind and positive and happy and funny and all of that. So, yeah, I was busy. And then I kind of realized, well, that's not a life really with a future, but it was a lot of fun, you know, selfishly, but I was like, no, this is not the right thing. Then I got caught during the scamdemic in Dubai. I was stuck there, couldn't get back to the Philippines. The borders were closed. And that's a miserable, miserable place. No heart, really, really unkind. It was hard. But I worked for 2 billionaires who were also scammers and cheaters and thieves. Then the only thing I could do during the lockdown was basically to go to the beach and to lay on my back in the salt water at night and pray to the heavens. And that was the moment where actually I think I became closest to God in my life, is it gave me real, just a closeness, and I was happy for that. And you were a part of that too, because part of my prayers, it consisted mainly of 3 points. One, help me to find some pastors or Bible scholars and that who describe things in an understandable way that reaches the heart. Number 2, please introduce me to people that I can encourage them and they can encourage me spiritually. And number 3, help me to find a meaning, a purpose, a reason to live, a goal, something that I'm really working on. Doesn't have to mean money necessarily, but help me to do something that I feel good about, productive. And that's where all of this has come together. So you were part of the first part of helping me to get spiritually encouraged. The second part, meeting this group here of spiritual men who are maybe they worship in a little more charismatic way than I prefer. Maybe some of their doctrines are slightly off, from the way maybe you and I might view things, but their hearts are in the right place, and I think I'm able to encourage them in some ways too, so I hope so. And being able to work with honest people, not listening to talk about drinking and carousing and all of that, it's beautiful. And then the third point, giving me a real purpose. Some men search 10 years, 20 years to find a treasure chest on a deserted island. Some men search their whole lives to find something in the ground. This is not the only site I have. This is one of about 15. And it's not normal. As I said, I've been to over 250 sites over many years. And most of them, it's just a figment of imagination, or wishful thinking is more like it. And people are like, yeah, I think there's a treasure under my house. But that's all substantiated, not only by scanners, but also by the marker stones. And then I use an auger to drill in the ground to see what kind of materials we're reaching, and is there a box or a solid surface? What are we hitting? So I take the approach very scientifically, and this is a real site. And I have about 15 of these. That's not normal, really. So I believe God said, okay, Jonathan, here's your chance. You've been a bad boy for a while, but now you're trying to be a good boy. I've been patient with you, so let's make this happen. And if I can help you, that would certainly be an honor, a privilege, a pleasure for me. So like I said before, if you can help me with somebody you know, that's great. And yeah, we're digging with shovels. Right now I'm digging by myself because I've been financing the food and gasoline for these guys. Oh, by the way, so while living in Sweden, I got overexposed to cell phone radiation, almost died, 3 months, barely alive, 3 years, barely alive. So moved back to America, found a machine, the Rife machine, that reset my nervous system, brought me back to life. So that was version 2.0, and got me started again. I started Artistic Finishers of Europe Corporation in Naples, Florida, which was an extremely successful interior design, faux finishing, artistic company. And it was very lucrative. So I saved up a lot of money, and I was able to live on that money, on that savings, since 2006. The problem is I lost about 95% of that savings in the satanic stock market. So that's the problem now, is I'm reaching the end of my savings. So can we complete this project without any help? With God's help, yes, I believe so. So I'm not really asking for anything, but I'm just presenting the situation that right now we're digging with shovels. And I do use a water pump sometimes, so that helps. But no backhoe, no dump truck, no equipment. And so on that part, we are different from the History Channel show. They are well backed. But can we do this here with shovels? I believe so. Buckets of dirt at a time and so forth? Yeah. But if you know of somebody who's a little bit crazy like me, who would like to do something very exciting, they are very welcome to come here and join us. Even before helping us in any way, they can come here. They're welcome to stay where I stay. Well, I'll feed them. It might be dried fish and, python snake every now and then. But they're very welcome to come. You're welcome to come too if you want a little vacation to do something different. If you want to be Indiana Jones for a while, that'd be a great privilege to have you here, man. So anyway, thank you for everything. Thank you for all the love and kindness that you've shown, and you're a good man. Thank you.